We may have a prophetic story here, something that is coming up. It involves Blessed Mother Mary, and so I thought we should record this just to see, to record this, document this. Welcome to MML. I am Trapper Jack, and because it involves Blessed Mother Mary, because it involves three people and their stories kind of intersecting, that seems to give this perhaps more validity. I want to make note of this. So here's the story. It involves a local woman here in the Cleveland area, Tara, who had a near-death experience, who was on my Touched by Heaven podcast. And after that near-death experience, she started receiving messages, including from Blessed Mother Mary. And so and just my dealing with her, I believe she gets messages. And I believe they are prophetic, sometimes futuristic kind of things. So, and certainly what things that have happened and are happening now. So I thought, okay. And I told her, I said, and this was back in April, I had it on the podcast. I said, if anything ever happens that I should just know about, let me know. So she sends me a message that says, I have a message from Blessed Mother Mary for you. She mentioned you by name. I thought, okay. So that kind of set up a conversation. And what things she told me and what she relayed to me, I kind of went, okay. It seemed fragmented. Wasn't quite sure what to make of it. The other person in this story is a firefighter out of New York, 38 years in the department, a battalion chief, Danny Sheridan, who's become a good friend of mine from his time on my podcast and times in Medjugorje together. So anyway, so I connected this to him and I just told him the story, and suddenly the three of us kind of came together in this. So I want to play for you what was said by Tara. But first, I need to tell you that back in March on this video podcast, I mentioned that songs were playing in my head. So I always talk about songs bubbling up seemingly out of nowhere, and we know where that nowhere is. Two songs in particular, Can't Get Next to You by the Temptations. And if you spiritualize the lyrics, it's obviously God speaking to somebody. We believed it was Russia because it was an episode about Russia, Ukraine, and Mother Mary a year after the conflict began. And it seemed to be God saying, I'm trying everything here. I can do a lot of things, but their heart is not opening up to me. And we know that Russia has to be converted. For Mary's Immaculate Heart to triumph, they have to have conversion. And the song basically said, it's not happening. The other song that played was by a group called Airborne Toxic Event. That doesn't bode well. Airborne Toxic Event, a song called Around Midnight. And anyway, there was this friction, if you will, and those combinations, kind of scary words, okay? But that there was kind of a pause button. Nothing was happening just yet. Okay, then I met Tara, and she was on my podcast. And now we've advanced to this month of September as we record. And on Saturday, September 2nd, that morning, she was awakened, she says, by Mary. And part of her message was for me. This is the message that she gave to me. This is from Tara.
And then she says, her words, tell Trapper Jack, I hear his words of prayer. You will speak for the people. Our world is full of chemicals, the air that we breathe. I will bring down the sun for people to see. When my statue appears, a miracle will be in progress. And then she said, you will hear my voice. And then the miracle for the people will be the fresh air, no mask, and that's what message she gave. So in other words, she said there's supposed to be a statue that's going to appear of her. I don't know if you're going to see it or if I'm going to see it, whatever it is. I have no idea.
All right. So I listened to that and I just thought, okay, what is all that? And what's this speaking for the people? I don't quite understand it. I like to think we speak here on behalf of God and all that. So speaking for the people, I'm a little unclear on that. She talked about the chemicals in the air. Okay, something's not right there. About bringing the sun to the people. That can mean two things to me. I think of Fatima back in 1917, October 13th, that the sun bouncing all over and then dive bombing, the world. That way of bringing down the sun, S-U-N, or is it bringing the sun, as in her son, S-O-N, to the people? She talked about a statue. We're seeing a statue. Okay, that's a sign the miracle is happening, whatever that means. Hearing her voice, whatever that means. And then ultimately, here's the miracle. The good news is the miracle of this fresh air. and no longer needing masks. Well, obviously, that isn't like COVID type masks. That sounds, going back to the chemicals again, something a little more serious. Is that something localized? Does that have something to do with Russia and Ukraine? Is it a local thing? Is it an international thing because of chemicals and such? So I wasn't sure what to make of that, and I told Tara that too. I said, "Boy, this sounds fragmented. Nothing I can really do anything with." And then the next day, I was talking to Danny Sheridan, and I just kind of mentioned this to him, and he started connecting some things that may apply to us. Okay, so I'm going to bring in Danny Sheridan as, again, 38-year fire department guy. Thank you for your service, Danny, and a battalion chief, and just thanks for being on Men's Morning Light.
Hi, good morning, Trap. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and so when I played this for, and first I should ask you, you've dealt with Tara more than I have. You've talked to her more than I have. Seemingly something. This isn't New Age. Doesn't seem, this isn't psychic. This is prophetic. You can tell the differences on where their heart is. She loves Jesus. She loves Mary. All this. Everything seemed right to you?
Yeah, it's amazing. She tells me things that, like, I have no idea how she knows some of these things. Even inside my head, she just
she did dreams even. She even got into my dreams going, "Oh, what's it?" And so we're together on this, so that there's something there. So anyway, I played this for you about chemicals and all that, and you said, "Well, that's kind of interesting because why?"
Right. Yeah. So, well, first I'm going to read this, what she sent me. She sent me a text message. She said, "The Holy Mother came to me this morning around 4:30 a.m. She gave me a message for Trapper and for the world. I'm going to either text him or maybe call him. He told me if I ever get anything again, tell the Trapper." So I called you and I said, "Hey, Trap, I think you have to get in touch with Tara because she's got something for you." And she wouldn't divulge to me what the message was. She says, and I think I guessed a few things, but she said, "No, well, let me tell Trapper." And then you called me, and I couldn't wait to hear from you because I had to wait till after Labor Day weekend. And then I was on my bike. I was in a bad cell service, and you played that for me. And as I'm riding my bike, we lost contact with each other. And I said, "Man," I said, "chemicals." I said, "I got these masks from my job. I was in research and development, and a captain there gave me these masks like 10 years ago that are chemical masks." And he said, "Take them to work and use them if you need them." And I'm like, "I'm not going to use these things." And I threw them in my locker. I don't know. I had two of them. I had one I threw in my locker. The other one, I have no idea where it went. And as I'm riding, I'm saying, "Wow." I said, "Chemicals, boy." I said, "I can't believe I don't have these masks." I said, and I was praying to, like, St. Anthony. I'm like, boy, oh boy. I mean, what luck, right? I mean, this is whatever's going to happen. And now I had these masks and they're gone. So I went and we talked again. And then I got to my firehouse and I said, "I got to find these masks." And sure enough, I'm digging through my locker. And on the bottom of my locker, I found the mask. And then I knew I had another one. I thought maybe it was in the Chief's car. And I was asking my driver, I'm like, when you switched over the cars, did you ever see something like a small CD case? And no one knew what I was talking about. And I just assumed it was gone because I'd like to have two. I'd like to have one for me and one for my wife if we're going to need something, And anyway, I think it was like the next day. I came back.
Yeah, we talked again, and all I remember is you sent me a text that said something like, "Well, something weird just happened." Nothing, just something weird just happened. And so I thought, I don't have time to talk to Danny today, but we were in the car. Elizabeth and I were in the car. We're driving. I said, "I'll call Danny now, see what the heck is weird." Right. And you told me what was weird.
Right. So I came back into the office, and I looked behind my desk, and I have a slot with all the mail, outgoing mail and all that stuff. And this was sitting there. This mask was just like sitting in the mailbox. So I don't know. And
and these things again, that's one of the reasons that we bond a little bit because of these experiences. And we talk about these touched by heaven experiences where God does do things, will move things physically, just as it's said in the Bible. This is kind of a biblical event of sorts. And so obviously, again, pointing to Tara, pointing to her message, pointing to the message delivered to me and connecting to you. This means something. If you suddenly see this here, that this is what really ultimately is why we are doing this today, is because of that experience of finding something that was not there before that.
Yeah.
So, okay, so now we're both talking about this and thinking about this and going through this about chemicals being in the air, about bringing the sun down to the people, about her, about a miracle that starts with seeing her statue and hearing her voice. But then the miracle of cleaning the air,
Mhm.
no longer needing masks. I because of how this began back in March, I tend to go. I'm hearing a tone. What's the tone? Do we know?
I have no control over that.
Okay.
My wife's computer.
Yes. Yeah. But because of that, I go back to March and Russia, Ukraine, Blessed Mother Mary, and all of that. Where else do you go? I mean, is that that's where I am? But you have other thoughts on what this could be?
You know, I don't watch the news, the national news or anything. I just basically whatever I get on my phone, and sometimes I go on YouTube and I see there's a lot of things happening in this world today that I just can't explain. Libya, we have these floods in China, we have fires in Hawaii. So all these events are happening in the world, and it does say, I mean, in the New Testament, I think it's if it's Revelation or Matthew about, there are signs, there's going to be earthquakes, there's going to be rumors of war and all that stuff. So I know when it comes to chemicals, it could be natural, it could be a volcano maybe, because I know volcanoes spew very toxic gases, or it could be man-made. Well, it could be a bomb, it could be a derailment of a car. We've had fires in Canada that affected us here in New York. So I
Yeah,
don't
those
know.
fires affect massively. Yeah,
Yeah,
but to the degree of wearing a mask that you
right,
were just being shown there.
right.
I don't know. But bottom line for this is the reason why we're doing this, just to document this. Maybe it means something. Maybe it means nothing. Maybe Tara's got it. Maybe she doesn't. We just know that there's something there. I was introduced to Tara through a very loud message from God that before I actually met her, of what was coming with her and why I needed to be paying attention to her. Perhaps for this, perhaps. But my introduction to her was very loud. There was no question God was saying to me, there's something there with her. Pay attention. So that's what we're doing today. I'm going to play the message one more time, Tara, and then we'll close out afterwards. But here again is that message.
And then she says, her words, tell Trapper Jack, I hear his words of prayer. You will speak for the people. Our world is full of chemicals. The air that we breathe. I will bring down the sun for people to see. When my statue appears, a miracle will be in progress. And then she said, you will hear my voice. And then the miracle for the people will be the fresh air, no mask. And that's what message she gave. So in other words, she said there's supposed to be a statue that's going to appear of her. I don't know if you're going to see it or if I'm going to see it, whatever it is. I have no idea.
There you go. And whether that's a localized event, a global event, don't know. We don't have a timeline on this. Don't pretend to know. There's a lot of talk about October things happening. Don't know. But that's where we are. Any final thoughts from you, Danny?
Yeah, the more listening to her message again, and it just, as soon as she said the word masks, it's just like, what are the odds that these masks, these are from 2013. I looked up the expiration date. I haven't seen these in 10 years, and they just show up in my locker, in my office. So
that says something. That says something. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate your time today, Danny. Appreciate it very much. All right, and we will see you next time on Men's Morning Light. I'm Trapper Jack. Have a great day.